What led me to do a film about Scott Walker, it was just the right time, you know. I had been thinking about doing a film about him. It had always been in the back of my head, just because, you know, his music to me is just, it's so widescreen. I mean, the 60s stuff, it's really cinematic. But even the newer work, like his album Till that he made in 1995, really started me thinking that it sounds like soundtracks. They sound like soundtracks to me. There's stories in there. There's a really strange narrative, and he's got such a fascinating story. And it was really, you know, when he was about to make this new album, The Drift, you know, his first in a decade. You know, he makes an album every 10 years, so the timing couldn't have been better. It was really like now or never.
So what would you say were the biggest challenges?
Keeping the music front and center. And we did break the bank, making sure we could license as much of that music as possible to make it feel as full and to give people a rich enough experience with the music. That was challenging for sure.
What surprised you the most about it?
Just sort of how normal he seemed when he was working. You know, everyone just has this impression of him as like a bit of a mad scientist or, you know, Phantom of the Opera of modern rock or whatever. But he's just a guy in jeans and a t-shirt and a little baseball hat, putzing around the studio with his musicians, trying to find the right way to get this certain sound out of a big wooden box, or, you know, I mean, they do very unusual things, but there's a lot of just joking around. It's just like, it's a day of work, and they're very dedicated. He's incredibly polite and just respectful of the musicians, and they have a fantastic rapport. And I think that was to get a look at him in the studios. I think it's where you see like the real person. Like he's
That's
probably
his element.
It's his element. It's probably where he's the most comfortable, and you know, the less guarded. It was just it was really amazing to just have a small window into that.
Did this experience get you fired up to do a documentary about any other musicians?
No. There's no one else that I can think of in my world, or in my sphere of influence that would come close to it, and that I would want to spend that amount of time. But I can't do that again.
Yeah.
Not for a long time.
Is there a soundtrack?
At long last, Universal in America is issuing domestic copies of Scott 1, 2, 3, and 4, compilations, best of. It's all coming out now.
Oh, good.
Finally. These things were only available on import, really. So it looks like, I know it's been a slow rollout, but you could never get these on Amazon, you could never get them on iTunes, and they're starting to become available, which is great.
Do you attribute it to film?
Yes, because I've been bugging them for years to do it. And finally it's happened. A little late, but better late than never. You know, the DVD's coming out in the summer this year. So by the time that happens and we've kind of rolled it out across the country to different cities, yeah, you can finally go out and get some Scott Walker, because that's what happens. People leave the film and they want to buy it up.
Right.
Of course, the new stuff is available. The Drift has been out in America, but you know, you want to get the new stuff, but you want to get the old stuff. You want to get the full spectrum. One thing that I am doing is I produced a tribute album with Lakeshore Records. They're calling it music inspired by the film Scott Walker, 30th Century. So it kind of brands it around the film, but it's really just 12 artists that I know and love covering Scott Walker. Most of them women, so I thought that'd be an interesting project, because you know, he's just got the best voice.
Oh, I know.
A lot of men either try to copy it and fail, or just can't get their head around it. So a few have done a marvelous job. This brilliant artist, Peter Broderick, who's on Simon Raymond's record label. You know, Simon from the Cocteau Twins, who was in the film, whose dad, Ivor Raymond, was the string arranger for all the Walker Brothers hits back in the day. He's got a great record label called Bella Union. So two of his artists are going to be on the album, Peter Broderick and Stephanie Dozen. Laurie Anderson covers The Electrician. Damon and Naomi are on there doing World's Strongest Man. Jarbo is covering A Lover Loves from Scott's new album. And Don Allison, who's in the film, does a beautiful Montague Terrace, very kind of Velvet's inspired late night kind of smoky rendition of it. It's very cool compilation.
All right. Well, thank you
Sure.
for your time.
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it. It's a cool site.